Good evening and welcome to St. John in the Wilderness. We're so pleased that you joined us tonight for Between the Trees. And tonight we have our guest, who is not really a guest. He's been here long before me and probably a lot of us in the parish. But we have Jim Peterson with us tonight. So thanks for joining us, Jim. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Father Art. I'm very happy to be here. And I think this is a tremendous idea to do this. Since we can't gather, at least we have a chance to visit with some people. And like the bishop and different individuals, it's really, I think it's very, very good idea.
Thank you. Well, what we're doing is mostly parishioners, because what we found is that even though we were together, a year ago,
Correct.
Still we didn't really, there were a lot of times we didn't have occasions to really get to know each other very well. So you are the one actually between the trees.
Okay.
So this is all about you, Jim, tonight.
Oh no,
Yeah.
now we're in trouble.
Well, and we'll get a little bit into St. John's,
Okay.
because you've been so important to the life of this parish. So we're going to do that as well.
Okay.
So, but let me start with, so you're not a spring chicken anymore.
That's for sure. Old rooster might be a better.
Yeah, so this old rooster. So I'm wondering, if you could sort of think through your life and give us some highlights, like where you were born, where you spent most of your time, your profession,
Okay.
family,
Sure,
all that sort of thing.
Sure. Well, I was actually born and raised most of my life in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh,
And my father took a job up here as a traveling shoe salesman when I was 14 years old. And so we then moved up here when I was about 15, and from there ended up going to Anoka High School and finishing at Anoka High School.
oh.
And then went to Hamline University, which I'm sure many people are aware of, in St. Paul, and graduated from there. And my degree was in education. And so I have I'll talk a little bit about education a little bit later, because I spent over 50 years in education. But I met my wife, Pat, when I was early in our career, when I was teaching in Moundsview, and she was teaching in Moundsview. So that's where we met, and she's from the Iron Range, so I've had the opportunity to really get to know that part of the country also, which is wonderful.
Oh.
And then we've had two daughters who are now, let's see, 52 and 50 years
Wow.
old. My older daughter, Tracy, she lives in Lake Elmo, and she's not married, but she's the director of Park and Recreation for the city of Edina. She
Right.
took that job just before COVID started. So
Right.
it's been a strange time, because a lot of it's been online rather than in person, because they closed the facility. My younger daughter, Tricia, she lives out in Las Vegas, and we have three wonderful grand boys, 14, 12, and 10 now, and they're living out there. And she went to school and became an investment banker, and so she was doing that for quite a while until she met her husband when she was out in San Francisco, and he was an investment banker. So fortunately, because of investment banking being what I would call somewhat lucrative, she was able to retire from that, and she's a full-time mother with the children out there.
Yes.
So, and the unfortunate part is we haven't seen them in almost a year now because of COVID. And normally we would travel out there a number of times during the year, and they'd come here and we'd have an opportunity to see them. I think, as many of the parishioners who know me know, that Pat has had some physical problems and some health problems for quite a while now. And so we don't travel at all anymore because of that, and stay pretty close to home. Getting back to my career, I was, like I say, over 50 years as an educator. Started as a teacher. I've been a central office person, assistant superintendent for a while in Bloomington, and then I also taught the the last about 12 years of my career in 2 universities. And in fact, started the program at Hamlin at that time, the graduate program, for people who wanted to be licensed as a principal, a superintendent, or a special ed director. And so I did that, and then finally decided it was time to retire. And in one respect, I wish we had a southern annex or something that we could go to church at. Because I really have gotten into golfing and enjoy golfing, and obviously it's kind of difficult this time of year.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit about our history. We live in White Bear Township. We moved over this way about 2006.
Right.
And before that, we lived in New Brighton. And so we have a townhouse over there, and really enjoy. Before that time, did not know White Bear that well, and really had an opportunity to get to know White Bear, and we love the community.
And that was when again that you moved over here?
2006.
2006.
We sold our house because it had like 3 levels, and wherever you went there were stairs, and so it became more difficult for Pat to get up and down the stairs. So we got a townhouse, which made it easier to get around.
And where on the Iron Range was Pat from?
She's from outside between Bowabic and Gilbert, a town called McKinley. Probably has, at that time, maybe 200, 300 people in it.
Wow.
Right there. But she went to school at Gilbert on the Iron Range.
In Gilbert. McKinley was too small to have its own?
It was too small. They had an elementary school, but then they would go to Gilbert for junior high and high school.
Okay. And what's your, I forget, Jim, what's your connection with Bayfield, Wisconsin?
Okay. Bayfield, Wisconsin is where my father was born.
Oh, that's right.
And so that had become, or it still is, a place where we have gone every single year. When my grandparents were alive, we would stay in the house. And then about 30, 35 years ago, they built a set of condos right on the water in the harbor there, and we started renting there every year. So our families, until just recently, would always go up there at least once, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay.
So that is really a favorite spot to go.
Yeah.
Is Bayfield in the summertime. You cannot beat it for an
a
area to, if you want to hike, if you want to canoe, if you want to kayak, whatever you want to do, all those things are up there. Golf is up there.
The Apostle Highlands.
Apostle Highlands, yep. Wonderful food.
Yeah.
Great place to go.
Have you been to Bayfield in the winter?
Yes, I have.
How do you like it?
I actually enjoyed it.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah,
okay.
no, I enjoy it, particularly when there's snow.
Okay.
It's a beautiful place. When we were able to travel, we were up there a number of times around Christmas, because the Rittenhouse Inn, which is a famous restaurant up there,
right,
has they start about the beginning of December, and every weekend they have Christmas festivities where you can go and eat. They have carolers come in, and it's really quite a nice
right.
weekend.
Yeah. So you move to New Brighton, you get connected to White Bear Lake, and then how soon? Well, everybody has a story about how they get to St. John's that I found. Some folks were born here and baptized here as little kids, and that's their story about coming to St. John's. My story actually includes you, because you helped bring me here. But what about your story about coming to St. John's?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. My mother was an Episcopalian, and we lived in Milwaukee, but there was not an Episcopalian church many, many miles, and she did not drive, and actually we never had a car till I was 14 years old, till my dad got his job up here. So I went to a Lutheran church in Milwaukee at that time. And then when we moved up here, when we lived in New Brighton, we went to Trinity Church in Anoka for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were, and in fact, that's where we got married, was in that particular church. And I was involved when I was in the vestry and did some things with them for quite a while. And then we moved over here, and I had been to St. Christopher's a number of times, just looking at it. St. Matthew's down near the St. Paul campus, we've been down there. And then I stopped in here. And I think for some reason, when I walked in here, I was greeted right away. And I can vividly remember, God rest her soul, June Bennett was one of the first people that greeted me when we came in. And then Janet Kelber and a few other people. And it felt right. The service felt like an Episcopal service, but it was relaxed.
Yeah.
It was comfortable, and I felt comfortable. So I came and then maybe skipped a week and then came back and brought Pat, and we just started to get involved. And again, God bless her soul, June hooked me and got me involved right away. I mean, the most unassuming, wonderful, kind, sweet lady.
Yeah.
There was something about her that you could not say no to her. And that's how we began. And then I started to get more and more involved because I had been involved when we were at Trinity. Like I said, I was on the vestry and did a lot of reading and a lot of different activities when I was over there.
That seems to be your pattern, Jim. You get involved.
Well, I have a little bit of an A personality. I don't like to just sit on the pine out there and spend my hour and go home. I want if I'm going to get involved, and this is whatever I do, I want to be involved.
Yeah,
I really do.
Right. Well, we have been so blessed to have you and your leadership here, and you've served in like every capacity already. It's only been 14 years that you've been here. Right. But you've served in a lot of different things. You've been what? Senior warden?
I've been senior warden three times.
3 times?
3 times I was senior warden.
Okay. Head of the search committee.
Yep, head of the search committee. And if we get a chance and want a little laugh, again, I have a little bit of story that I told at the first annual meeting when Father Art was here. I think I will tell it. I was standing up there, and Father Art had just been here since, December 1st. And we had our annual meeting in early January, as we usually do. And I was fortunate enough to get a small award, a very wonderful award that I was very appreciative of. And I had a chance to get up and talk a little bit. So I said, since I was the chair of the search committee, I had the opportunity to be the first person to contact potential candidates. And so Father Art was one of those that I contacted, and he was in Hayward and had been in Hayward, Wisconsin for a long, long time. And so we talked about the usual things and his caring and his faith and love of Christ and all of those things. And then I said, at the annual meeting, I said, I never told anyone this before, but my last question to Father Art was, this will be the one that'll determine whether or not you have an opportunity to interview. And I said, if you come to Minnesota, will you forsake the Green Bay Packers? And so that was kind of fun to do. So.
Which, and I guess I could ask the same of you. I mean, being a Milwaukee boy, who do you root for now?
I'm all Minnesota.
Yeah, you're all
Minnesota. Yep.
Even when you say your prayers.
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
All right.
I'm pure and clean Minnesota.
All Minnesota. You cross the border and you never look back.
So getting back to where we were, I've just done a number of things. Acted as a worship leader here a number of times. I helped coordinate the sesquicentennial celebration that we had. Have been chaired the Gift and Memorial Committee for about 10 years or so. Done a variety of things, now involved with the Heritage Society, and so have been tried to be as active as I possibly can, because I think it's important to also not go to church, but be a part of the church, the church community.
Thank you for saying that, Jim, because that's exactly right. I mean, we're a community of disciples, followers of Christ, and it's more than just sitting on the pews. Yep. It's getting involved and loving each other and loving the community.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Well, thanks for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's
And June was the one. June Bennett was the one.
She was the first one
that-
that got me going.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you senior warden when Father Mark left, or? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's tough. That your job gets really involved to be
Well-
a senior warden in transition.
Right.
And then you went from that to being the head of the search committee,
Right.
or one of the chairs of the search committees. And
Yeah, it probably was one of the most fulfilling experiences, unfortunately, because as much as we love having you here, Father Art, Mark was well loved in this community.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that he had to leave because of illness. But I'm sure many of the listeners know, but when a church loses its priest, the senior warden becomes the person in charge. And even if you bring in a person to as a priest and do the services, the senior warden is still ultimately responsible. So for 2 years, we worked through the process for 2 years, and this would be an opportunity for me again to say how appreciative I am of this community. Everybody participated in some way in that search process, through focus groups or whatever. We just had a tremendous, so you were selected by this community. And if I may say so, I think a wonderful selection. So, but during that 2 years, it really gave me an opportunity to get inside the workings of the church. And when I say that, the reason I say that is because obviously we're here because of our faith and what we believe in and our love of Jesus Christ, but it's also, there's a business part of it. You know, you do need funds, you do need to have rules and regulations that you follow at the state as well as the church. We have church canons, we have bylaws for our own church here, and those have to be followed. And so I had an opportunity to really get involved and understand the workings of the church and what makes it function.
Yeah.
And I think that has helped me even have a deeper respect and understanding of how valuable a church community can be.
When I think about the church, I mean, when I think about all that stuff, the bylaws and the canons and the structures and the orders and all the things that we have in the Episcopal Church, it's one way you can look at that, it's like a negative thing, like, oh, that might inhibit the life of a community. But the way I like to see it, and of course I do because I'm part of the church, is to see it like a trellis, you know, where if all that stuff that we have, bylaws and all that stuff, is the trellis, and then it's so that the vines can grow in a healthy way.
Right.
And if we're doing our job right, all of that other stuff, behind the scenes stuff that goes on, is in good order so that
and that's why we have a vestry of parishioners who help you in your decision-making process. Again, I don't know if our listeners know, but the vestry's major responsibility is financial and taking care of the facility, those kinds of things. Father Art is responsible for all of our religious education, worship, all of that, and he is responsible for the employees. And he, in a sense, it's a funny way of saying it, but in a sense, you're the CEO, and we are just the board that helps you.
Well, it sure is a help. I'm glad there's a board there to help. So, and now, Jim, you are chair of the Heritage Society.
Correct.
So a lot of folks might not know much about the Heritage Society because it's one of those behind the scenes things at St. John's, but we could not function, the ministry of St. John's could not function without the Heritage Society.
Right.
So I'm wondering if you can give a plug for the Heritage Society.
When we first came, I became aware of the Heritage Society, and Gene Tews was one of the founders of the Heritage Society originally, and I'm going to leave out some important people that were involved in that. But the Heritage Society is to provide financial support for the church ad infinitum, forever. So The Heritage Society funds are invested with the St. Paul Foundation. And the St. Paul Foundation manages the money, and then we take a draw from that of, it's been roughly 5% a year that we have been able to take because of the Heritage Society. How do you get involved, and why should you get involved in the Heritage Society? If you truly believe, in my opinion, if you truly believe in this community, this church community, and want to see it thrive and grow forever, it's a way of doing that. And I like to say it's almost a painless way, because for most people, when you become a member of the Heritage Society, you say that you will, upon your passing, have a piece in your will that will say you will donate to the church, or you do it through a trust. You could actually do it through real estate. You could do it many avenues. We also say that a person can donate $1,000 and become a member of the Heritage Society. This Heritage Society fund really provides an opportunity to provide a constant support for exactly what you're doing as priest in the church. And it makes me feel good to think that when Pat and I go, there will be a piece of us that will still be here to help St. John's. So please contact me, contact Marina in the office, anyone. It's very easy to sign up. There's a plaque for people who want to be recognized as part of the Heritage Society. Hopefully we try to have a get-together once a year for people when COVID is over, and then we can do that again. But please consider it. It's a way to provide an ongoing support for God and this church in what we're trying to do.
And super important. I can't remember how much of our revenue was Heritage Society. Was that 5%?
Yeah, it's at least.
But it was a good chunk.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Every year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we have. I might mention that we have redone the brochure. And again, once we get back in person, I'll make these available to anyone that's interested. And please think about it. It's a wonderful way to leave a piece of you with St. John's.
Yeah. And you were telling me the other day that our newest members, because we have a lot of our parishioners have become members of the Heritage Society. I wish we had the plaque out here right now and we could name them all. But the newest members of the Heritage Society, or you just told me the other day.
Oh, do you want me to mention their name? Oh, Dick and Linda Halbert.
Yeah.
Joined just the other day.
So Dick and Linda, thanks so much for joining the Heritage Society.
Thank you.
And hopefully others will decide to join.
And it might be a good idea at some point that we make that list public so people can see others that are involved. So
I think that would be appropriate and good.
Please consider.
Yeah.
My commercial.
Thanks. Okay, so I only have about a minute before the Wonder Stick is going to be bringing in questions from out there in cyber world, or St. John's cyber world, which is pretty small. But so I thought we'd play a little word association game.
Okay.
So I'm going to say like churchy words, and the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay?
I got you.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell you I was going to do this.
No, you didn't. No, that's a sneak attack.
Yeah, so okay. Vestry.
Important financial support.
Okay. Vergers.
Absolutely important for the priest and the functioning of our worship service.
June Bennett.
God's gift to the world.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yes.
Senior warden.
Someone who can help coordinate with the vestry and the priest.
Okay, good. That's all I'm going to put you
is that all? Oh.
Golf.
Oh, the most important thing other than, well, that's my only one passion. I was thinking about starting my own church called the Holy Golf Ball.
That's you know what? You'd probably have a lot of people. Who would join that. We should actually have a satellite out at the golf course.
There you go.
Yeah, people would like that. Okay, so here comes the Wonder Stick. We paid big bucks.
Oh man, this is high tech.
Yes, high tech. There we go. All right. Oh yeah, this is really good. Okay, so you've been around, you've been in leadership positions. So what would you say are some of St. John's strengths? And it's particularly important, I think, here in COVID times for us to remember how strong we are. Okay. So what would you say are our strengths?
I think the value of our church community, and hopefully any church community, any faith community, is that taking the times that we're in now, that we can provide hope, that there is hope out there. You know, we think so many times about our finances, which are important, about the children, about safety, about getting COVID and everything else. These are very tangible things. But I think underlying it is the intangible, the hope, and then from there, the love that comes from being part of this church community, that if you do need something, ask, and people will be more than willing to help. And then I think all that leads to a deeper faith in what this life is really about.
Yeah, tapping into the super important stuff. Yeah, you're right. I've noticed during COVID, I didn't even ask you what your experience of COVID has been. Maybe I should ask you that. But during COVID, people have really had to step up just to reach out to each other. And so I was talking to somebody today. We had a clergy meeting today, and I was talking about how for me as the priest here, it's been really hard because it feels like I'll make these calls and it's just like a shotgun, hoping that I get to everybody. But what's been beautiful about St. John's is people are really reaching out to each other, and sort of keeping us together.
It's important.
So, really important. Okay. Of all the volunteer work that you've done at St. John's, which has been the most personally rewarding and why?
I think I can, and this is not because you're sitting here, Father Art, but I think the most rewarding was going through the search process and seeing the real love and care that people have for St. John's and what it offers as a faith community. And being able to know that what the search committee did, and wonderful people on the search committee, we were hiring someone who reflected what St. John's wanted as a priest. That probably has been my most rewarding.
Yeah, and you guys met a lot.
Yes,
I mean,
we did.
It was going on for a while. You got pressure too.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah, it was
but I'm glad we took the time.
Yeah, I'm glad you took the time. Yeah, so well, and to all the folks who served on the search committee, just thank you for that. And
yeah, it was fantastic. What a group of people.
I'm glad it didn't wear you out. It could have been where at the end of that you're like, that's the last thing I'm going to do for church.
No, it definitely didn't. It really, the time and energy that everyone put in was unbelievable. And I think the other thing that I was impressed during that 2 years, that our church really stayed together. Our church community stayed together. Because sometimes you hear about, you get fractions and groups that go this way or that way. And I think it was really wonderful that everyone was still a part of our church community.
Yeah, everybody had to step up and
absolutely.
Did. Well, okay. And where do you feel most connected to God? And if you say the golf course.
No. Where do I feel the most connected?
Yeah. In what area of your life do you feel most in what area do you feel like God's...
Rather than place.
It could be place.
Okay.
You can interpret the question any way you like.
The reason I ask is because I wasn't thinking place.
Okay.
I love this church. I love this church community. But I think what's most important, I go back to those three words, is hope, love, and faith.
Yeah.
And as things are as the world may not turn the way you want it, or things may not happen the way you want it in your personal life, to go back to that. You have to take care of the reality, but it's your belief system, I think, your hope, love, and faith in the end that keeps it all together.
Yeah.
Keeps you together as a person.
That's on our sign outside. Faith, hope, and love. Did you know that?
I haven't looked at it lately, no. Oh my God.
Well, see, I walk by it every night with my dog, and I keep thinking, I should put something on there that catches people's attention. But then I think, it's pretty hard to beat faith, hope, and love.
Yep. I agree.
So until I come up with something shocking and wonderful, I'm going to just cool my jets. And yeah. Well, yeah. So this space is really a beautiful space, and it's important for a lot of people. And I know it's been a challenge for a lot of people not to be physically here.
Right.
For us that are able to be in this space, we sometimes take that for granted.
I agree.
But hopefully when we all come back together, we won't take even the space for granted anymore, because it's a wonderful space and wonderful to be with the church in the church.
And I think you have mentioned it, and some others have mentioned it too. We are getting new members even during COVID, which is saying a lot about what we're doing. And look at Jeff and Carrie over here who are running the operation. They're a big part of what's happening. They're giving a lot of their time and energy now, and thank you for that. It's wonderful.
And Jim, when I think about your leadership, I think we're going to, as we move into the next chapter of our life here at St. John's, there are huge challenges ahead of us, a lot of which we've become aware of because of this strange time we've been in, where all of a sudden we're making a leap into a new way of being church, and we want to hold on to who we are. We don't want to lose that, but we also recognize that we really have to be church in a little bit of a different way as we come back. It won't come back exactly the same.
I totally agree. We have a different society, and I think, as many people know, a lot of young people have not lost faith, but they've lost faith in the church as an institution. And I think we have to, in creative ways, find how can we help them to see that there is value in being part of a church community, however you want to do that.
Yeah, right. And actually during COVID, I mean, when I've seen people reach out to each other, I mean, it really feels like family. And I think at core, human beings are meant to be connected to each other.
I agree.
And that's the strength of a community.
Yeah, absolutely.
People really love each other.
That's right. That's right.
But when we come back, one of the things that is going to be different is that our services will be live streamed. Tonight we're using that little camera right there, but we're going to have a lot more sophisticated system when we come back. And so we're going to need leaders actually to step up and help us to do what we've been trying to do for 100 years, but to do it in a new way here at St. John's. And so we need more leaders to step up.
We need leaders to do that. And I'm not one of those that can handle the technology. I'm beyond that. So it's going to be some of our younger people that will have to get involved with that.
Yeah, well, there's a place for absolutely everybody in terms of leadership.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
so,
to whatever degree they can and want.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, well, thanks. We're almost out of time here, Jim. And tomorrow, next week, not tomorrow, tomorrow's Thursday. Next Wednesday is Between the Trees one more time. And our guest next Wednesday is Bill Eves. And Bill is the pastor of the United Methodist Church here in town. So we have both parishioners, and then we have special celebrities like Bill who will join us, and we'll find out what they're doing over there and how it's similar, different than what we're doing over here. Bill's a good friend of mine, actually, and we go way back to college days. So it'll be fun to have Bill with us here next week. So don't forget the couple announcements while I have people watching. One is that we have the Bible study that starts in just a few minutes. That's on a different link, but it's on the website. So go to the website and hit the link for the Transformed by the Word Bible study. And we're going through the book of Acts right now. So that starts in just a few minutes. Next week we have Bill Eves, but the week after that, we're into Lent, and we start Ash Wednesday. So we're going to be gathering outside to do a burning of the palms for Shrove Tuesday, and then Ash Wednesday, we're going to be doing, again, a live stream service, so you can't be part of the Ash Wednesday service besides tuning in, but then we will have drive-by ashes, imposition of ashes, and communion. So we invite you to take part in that. So, Jim, thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I mean, thanks for tonight. Thanks for heading up the group that called me to be at this awesome place and be part of this community, and for all your leadership over all the years. And know that you and Pat are in our prayers, and we'll get through this thing, right?
Yes, we will. It will be bigger and better.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, thank you.
So thanks so much for tuning in tonight. Thanks to Jeff and Carrie for doing their best tonight to get us to all of you. And we'll see you next week.